Colloportus. Hello, my dear wizards, witches, muggles, and squibs. I've been feeling truly tired lately, in need of a vacation, to relax and blissfully unwind. The only problem is, where to, after having visited so many places? I could pop over to Hogsmeade to see how our dear Rosmerth is keeping, or why not France? La France. Why am I thinking of Beauxbatons?
Night boss, last call. Any wizard or witch ready for a nocturnal adventure?
Okay, I'm coming. But even if I can't decide on my destination, why don't I take you to an ancient and mysterious place? Yes, a journey into the past. What? The far north? I'm freezing just at the thought of it.
Born circa 1882 or 1883, Gellert Grindelwald received his education at Durmstrang Institute, where he displayed exceptional proficiency in various magical disciplines. Immersed in the school's culture, which favored strength and dark magic, Grindelwald's natural talent was complemented by his charming and charismatic personality, characterized by a lively and adventurous spirit. During his youth, Grindelwald, gifted with the ability of foresight, envisioned his ascension to power within the wizarding world. Upon discovering the existence of the Deathly Hallows, 3 legendary objects believed to confer mastery over death, he perceived the pursuit of these artifacts as pivotal to realizing his prophetic destiny. Throughout his tenure at Durmstrang, Grindelwald's fascination with the Deathly Hallows deepened, leading him to adopt the runic symbol, representing them as his personal insignia. This fixation culminated in the student's expulsion from Durmstrang at the age of 16, attributed to his involvement in unsettling experiments, unacceptable even for the school's lenient standards regarding the dark arts. Following the expulsion, Grindelwald embarked on a quest for knowledge about the Deathly Hallows, which brought him to Godric's Hollow, England. Here, Ignotus Peverell, believed to be the first possessor of the Cloak of Invisibility, was laid to rest. Conveniently, Grindelwald's great-aunt, the esteemed wizarding historian Bathilda Bagshot, best known for her book Hogwarts: A History, resided there, offering him shelter amidst a wealth of magical texts and artifacts. It was in the summer of 1899 that Grindelwald crossed paths with Albus Dumbledore in Godric's Hollow, forging a profound and transformative bond. The two youths, both intellectually gifted and ambitious, found common ground and even became romantically involved during their brief but intense acquaintance. Their time together, characterized by fervent discussions and shared aspirations, left an indelible mark on each other's destinies. During their stay at Bathilda Bagshot's residence, they sealed their alliance with a blood pact, an irrevocable magical oath vowing never to turn against each other. United by a shared vision, Grindelwald and Dumbledore pursued the Deathly Hallows with the aim of attaining mastery over death and reshaping the wizarding world according to their ideals. They envisioned a society where wizards and witches wielded supreme authority over both magical and non-magical beings, striving to abolish the international statute of wizarding secrecy. Dumbledore coined the phrase "for the greater good" to justify their cause, while Grindelwald adopted it as his mantra. Haunted by the tragic events of his past, Albus Dumbledore sought refuge in the pursuit of power, believing it would enable him to protect his loved ones from the evils of the world. His younger sister Ariana's obscurial manifestation, triggered by the torment inflicted by a group of Muggle boys, left an indelible scar on Dumbledore's psyche. This fueled his desire to possess the Deathly Hallows, particularly the Resurrection Stone, as a desperate means to rewrite the past and protect his loved ones from future harm. Gellert Grindelwald, in stark contrast, approached power with a lust for domination, envisioning himself as the benevolent overlord of a new wizarding order. The Deathly Hallows, in his eyes, were mere tools for achieving his grandiose ambition. This is evident in his misconstrued view of the Resurrection Stone, which he saw as a means to amass an army of inferi, rather than a way to bring back a loved one. Their grand plans to depart Godric's Hollow, amass power, and ignite their revolution solidified into a tangible threat. However, When Albus's brother Aberforth discovered their ambitions, a wave of concern and disgust washed over him.
You need to stop this.
He understood the precariousness of Ariana's condition and knew they couldn't simply abandon her. This ignited a tense confrontation, culminating in a vicious duel. Enraged, Grindelwald unleashed the Cruciatus Curse upon Aberforth. Albus, fueled by a protective fury, intervened, and a chaotic battle erupted. The tragic consequence of this clash was Ariana's untimely demise. Grindelwald, fleeing the country with the stain of putative blame for Ariana's death upon him, embarked on the path that would ultimately lead him to darkness. To this day, it remains unclear who was truly responsible for Ariana's death. As the years passed, Grindelwald's obsession with the Deathly Hallows continued to grow. At this crucial juncture, a figure of paramount importance emerged, Mikiu Grigorovich. Renowned as one of the greatest wand-makers alongside Ollivander, Grigorovich, at one point in his life, managed to acquire the Elder Wand, one of the Deathly Hallows, and the most potent magical instrument known to exist. Upon realizing its true nature, he embarked on experiments to replicate its extraordinary powers. Grigorovich, somewhat naive by disposition and hoping to boost business, or perhaps seeking fresh talent to assist him in his ambitious projects, spread rumors about possessing a formidable wand and his attempts to duplicate its properties. One fateful night, Grigorovich heard intruders in his workshop. Rushing inside, he found a blonde-haired young man holding the wand. Before he could react, the mysterious wizard cast a stunning spell and fled through the window. Unbeknownst to Grigorovich, the thief was none other than Gellert Grindelwald. With the Elder Wand in his possession, in November 1926, Grindelwald unleashed a wave of devastating attacks across Europe. These assaults resulted in widespread carnage, capturing the attention of both wizarding authorities and the Muggle world, raising the specter of exposure and conflict.
Ah, there you are, my beloved viewers. Fear not, I'll be quicker than a golden snitch. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here for this episode of the Spellbook Chronicles. And if you think Quentin Pendragon is charming enough to deserve your generous support, you might consider leaving a like. And I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell icon to make sure you don't miss a single episode. Oh, but if you are wizards and witches truly hungry for knowledge, you might consider joining the channel for just a couple of galleons. Every month, you will be guaranteed priority access to all new videos on the channel. Plus, you will be rewarded every month with new exclusive special content just for you. So, what are you waiting for?
Responding to Grindelwald's escalating aggression, an international manhunt was launched, chronicled in publications like the Daily Prophet and the New York Ghost. Amidst the chaos, the International Confederation of Wizards nearly apprehended Grindelwald, who sought refuge in a dilapidated chateau. This close call prompted him to assemble a loyal following in response to the imminent threat. President Serafina Picquery of MACUSA, the Magical Congress of the United States of America, later blamed the International Confederation for Grindelwald's escape, accusing the delegate Heinrich Eberstadt of letting the Dark Wizard slip through his fingers. At the same time, to detain his adversaries, Grindelwald constructed a prison located somewhere in the Austrian Alps, Nurmengard. Throughout this period, he personally carried out numerous murders, including that of Victor Krumm's grandfather. As Grindelwald's influence expanded, he meticulously prepared for the inevitable showdown with Albus Dumbledore, his former confidant, and the only wizard deemed capable of challenging him. Unbeknownst to the wider wizarding community, a direct confrontation between him and Grindelwald was impossible due to the blood pact forged in their youth. In pursuit of a strategy to neutralize Dumbledore without direct combat, the Dark Wizard envisioned a weapon against his adversary, an Obscurial, a young witch or wizard who, due to the suppression of their magic through psychological or physical abuse, develops a dark, parasitic magical force known as an Obscurus. Believing that such a force could eliminate Dumbledore, Grindelwald embarked on a mission to locate and recruit this powerful entity in America. The Obscurial identified by Grindelwald, an orphan named Credence Barebone, was cunningly manipulated by the wizard, unleashing his destructive power and wreaking havoc upon New York City. Years later, drawn to Paris by Credence's whereabouts, Grindelwald convened a gathering of his followers within the Lestrange Mausoleum, delivering an impassioned address. He articulated his visionary perspective on Muggles and prophesied the onset of another catastrophic war, punctuating his rhetoric with evocative images of the London Blitz and Hiroshima. The hatred and fear caused by his foresight of future catastrophic events caused by Muggles, such as the horrors of the Second World War, was one of the pillars underlying his anti-Muggle vision. For Grindelwald, Muggles represent a threat because, despite lacking magical powers, they constitute a large and potentially dangerous mass that could oppose the dominance of wizards. In the aftermath of a clash with British auras that erupted during the gathering, Grindelwald succeeded in definitively bringing the obscurial to his side by exploiting the revelation of a crucial truth in his possession. Credence has Dumbledore blood, and his real name is Aurelius. Capitalizing on the boy's resentment towards the family that abandoned him, Grindelwald is now ready to unleash the Obscurial's devastating power against his old friend. In 1932, Grindelwald set his sights on the highest office in the wizarding world, Supreme Mugwump of the International Confederation of Wizards. During the elections, it was customary for the Qilin, a Chinese creature, to bow to the prospective Mugwump. Through necromancy, Grindelwald resurrected the corpse of a Qilin in an attempt to rig the elections and declare himself the undisputed winner. However, Dumbledore, with the invaluable assistance of his friend Newt Scamander, managed to thwart the Dark Wizard's plan. Enraged, Grindelwald attempted to kill the Obscurial Aurelius, who was on the verge of turning against him. Albus Dumbledore and his brother Aberforth intervened in his defense, repelling the deadly spell and shattering the powerful blood pact that bound the two old friends. Engaged in a brief duel, they reached a standstill with their wands pointed at each other's heads and their hands over each other's hearts. At that moment, they ceased fighting, and Dumbledore turned away from the emotionally shattered Grindelwald, who, in bitterness, reminded Albus that no one else could comprehend and love him as deeply as he could. With everyone gathered turning on him, Grindelwald declared that he hadn't been and still wasn't their enemy, before jumping off a ledge and disapparating. After Grindelwald declared open war on the world, leading to the eventual ousting of Minister for Magic, Hector Fawley, 6 years of utter chaos ensued. The Second World War, just as he foretold, had begun. But with the horrors of the conflict drawing to a close and the Muggle populace returning to peace, Grindelwald's power struggle was about to make its final moves on the chessboard. November 2nd, 1945, the day when the fate of the wizarding world would be decided, the day when the history of magic would be shaped forever. Gellert Grindelwald versus Albus Dumbledore. The clash that ensued between the two legendary wizards is recounted in wizarding history as one of the most epic duels ever witnessed, described as a spectacle of unmatched magical prowess, with spells of extraordinary power and complexity filling the air. Despite Grindelwald's formidable command of the Elder Wand, Dumbledore's superior skill and strategic brilliance allowed him to emerge victorious. In a moment of undeniable triumph, Dumbledore disarmed Grindelwald, claiming mastery over the power of the Deathly Hallows and solidifying his status as one of the greatest wizards of all time. Following Grindelwald's defeat, Dumbledore handed him over to the magical authorities, leading the Dark Wizard ironically being confined to the highest cell of Nurmengard, the very prison he created, where he would spend the rest of his days. As Grindelwald grew older, he began to reflect on his past actions and his revolutionary ideals, reportedly feeling remorse for the suffering inflicted upon both the magical and non-magical worlds. In 1998, 53 years after his defeat, Grindelwald awoke to find himself in the company of another prisoner in his cell, Lord Voldemort, who sought the Elder Wand for his own purposes. Despite being unarmed and defenseless against the most powerful dark wizard in history, Grindelwald adamantly refused to reveal the whereabouts of the Elder Wand. He taunted Voldemort by name and derided his desire for it, defiantly proclaiming that the Elder Wand would never truly belong to him. As Voldemort's impatience grew, fueled by Grindelwald's defiance, he eventually succumbed to rage, casting the killing curse and ending his life. In the ethereal realm of Limbo, Harry Potter speculated that Grindelwald may have sacrificed himself to prevent Voldemort from defiling Dumbledore's tomb, suggesting that despite their tumultuous history, the old wizard still harbored a sliver of care for his former companion. The truth of Grindelwald's words about Voldemort's inability to fully master the Elder Wand would eventually come to fruition, leading to the Dark Lord's downfall in his pivotal showdown against Harry Potter. Grindelwald possessed a remarkable combination of qualities that marked him as an exceptional individual from an early age. Even Dumbledore acknowledged Grindelwald's extraordinary charm, admitting that he had been captivated by him to the point of falling in love. This charisma, coupled with his intelligence and magical prowess, made Grindelwald a formidable figure, with ambitions that bordered on ruthlessness. Even in his youth, he displayed a fervent idealism and an unyielding determination to achieve his goals, regardless of the consequences. However, beneath his charming facade, Grindelwald harbored darkness, a capacity for immense cruelty. Grindelwald fervently believed that his cause was just and necessary for the advancement of wizardkind. He was a masterful orator, capable of captivating and terrorizing his audiences with his persuasive rhetoric. His ability to inspire unwavering loyalty among his followers earned him a devoted entourage, whom he regarded as comrades in his quest for supremacy. Grindelwald's prowess as a wizard was unparalleled. His mastery of the Elder Wand further augmented his formidable abilities, allowing him to perform spells of unimaginable destruction. This dominance earned him a reputation as the most powerful and feared wizard in history.
Poor Grindelwald. Imprisoned in those icy walls. He might have preferred a tropical holiday with a good cocktail. But as I always say, every wizard has their troubles. Merlin's beard. They certainly do go heavy on the chupacabra mucus in the tropics. Well, my dear wizards, witches, muggles, and squibs, my vacation is already over. And I regret not swiping that gnome's time turner when I had the chance to. I hope your journey into Gellert Grindelwald's past was equally thrilling, but alas, it's now time to return to the present. Here's Quentin Pendragon, once again, ready for a new adventure and a new episode of the Spellbook Chronicles. Cheers.